If you're a creative person or you know how to do 3D modeling in Blender, you're not going to want to miss this interview with Detech. He's won numerous design contests in the Upland Metaverse, one of the first players to create assets within the game, and we talk about how he got started in Upland and his journey to where he is today as one of the most well-known designers within the Upland Metaverse. If you're someone starting your journey within the metaverse and looking to become an entrepreneur, there's a lot of great insight that you can get from this conversation I had with Detech. Enjoy. So Detech, we're going to start with some rapid fire questions. When did you first join Upland?
I joined Upland about 3.5 years ago when Brooklyn came out.
Okay. And what is your home neighborhood in Upland?
Home neighborhood, it's either Bronxdale or San Francisco Bend's neighborhood, Midtown Terrace.
Midtown Terrace.
So
Okay,
these
great.
are the
That's great. I know that you were partnering with him and doing a lot of their models, and we'll talk about that shortly. Upland is known as the Play, Earn, and Connect metaverse. So if you had a pie and you had to split that up into Play, Earn, and Connect, when you started playing Upland 3.5 years ago, how would you split up that pie?
first it was Play. And then when I figured out that there's a Discord community, that's all Connect mostly.
Great. So the earning was not something you were really thinking of. Now, when you're looking at Upland today, I asked the same question. Play, earn, and connect. How do you split up that pie?
It all depends. People play differently. Some earn, some focus. I focus on connecting and getting projects done. I invest most of everything I make in Upland back into Upland. So yeah, you know how they say until it's you make it into dollars, you can't really say earned some.
Right. So you're earning with the purpose of investing. Okay,
Yeah.
great. What was your last purchase in Upland?
uh Map assets.
You
Map
picked up
assets.
some map assets. Great.
Yes.
Anything specific?
Yeah, the penguin, steampunk penguin, I got the clocks,
Oh, okay.
new clocks that he had to put
Nice,
beside my
nice.
building.
Now, you just last week you had a neighborhood in Paris that was released and had special structures that were designed by you. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you were able to design all of these structures for that neighborhood?
Sure, there was a competition for the Genesis Design Challenge, and I designed two buildings, won the challenge, and then had to do the rest. So now I finished them, and they're in Upland.
That's great. And I'm assuming you got a number of properties in the neighborhood that you designed. At least I hope you did.
Yeah, yeah. The Upland gave me big ones. They gave me 5 properties, and I grabbed one during the release and gave one to my friend. So I got 5.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
and I
So
got the big ones, so I'm gonna open showrooms there.
I'm scrolling around this neighborhood right now, and it's looking really cool. People are still building some of these structures, but I see that a lot of people really jumped in and are excited to start building up these custom structures that you made. And this is hopefully bring us a lot closer to these blueprints coming up, where players are going to be able to design their own custom structures that can be used anywhere in Upland and sell them. That's something that is coming soon, and it's really exciting. What's your thoughts on these?
This is the most waited news in Upland. So when it was announced while I was doing the neighborhood buildings, I was like, I thought I'd miss out the beginning, but it still not hasn't come out. So we're all waiting. The most the scariest part for people who already participate in lots of master builders is what the requirements are going to be. Because I have lots of models that are already not making it because they're either too high or too big. But there's a lot of people who already made a whole bunch of buildings that might enter Upland. It's going to be a very exciting time.
Yeah, it really opens up a lot of creativity. If you're a brand
Mhm.
looking to come into Upland and you have custom colors or custom logos, you could really reimagine an entire neighborhood just for you and
Yep.
utilize designers like yourself or other people in the community to basically outsource this job of designing an entire neighborhood, which is exactly what you did. And I mean, it seems like a ton of work. Now, I also understand that when you started learning Blender, which is the program used to create all of these 3D models, you started learning it just specifically for Upland. So how
Yep.
did how did you become an entrepreneur within Upland? How did you get that start?
So I first started with the Master Builders competition, and right after it was over, the first one, Ben and Cheese picked me up into Samurai Aquatics, and I had to tackle the whole process of creating items for Upland. And back then, Upland didn't know what the requirements would be, so it was a very complicated kind of.
We're we're here 3 years or less than 3 years after Upland introduced factories and the ability for people to actually manufacture things on their own. So it seems like things are really working smoothly today. But for people who were around 3.5 years ago, there was no such thing as Spark. There was no concept of these structure ornaments or map assets. This was all like they said factories, but nothing else. And as we start to see things rolling out, we're seeing these things like the blueprints. They're having these mint shops coming out where you're going to be able to spend your sparklet to create legits, and it's a real process that's happening. That Upland is continuing to evolve and providing lots of opportunities for creators to start creating. And Blender's not easy, and I understand you have a background in graphic designing, but when you jumped into Upland, it's like, okay, there's this new tool that we need to use, and you had to somehow pick it up. How did you learn that, and what's your advice for maybe someone who is creative and they have lots of ideas and they're wanting to get into this, having their own factories and starting to create things, or outsourcing, or selling their models to other players? What kind of advice can you give, and how did you experience this getting involved?
So as you said before, there was no information on how to Blender for Upland. There's lots of tutorials how to make items in Upland, but every game has specific, very, very different specific requirements. And now Upland has a whole guide on what you need to do for each model. So it's a lot easier that you can go look up the information, ask in the community if you don't understand something, and it'll be somebody who's already doing it, so they can help you. So it's much easier now because there's lots and lots of tutorials for Blender. But once you the problem is once you hit like, how do I get something ready for these requirements? There's no actual tutorials except for like mine and a few Upland tutorials. There aren't many that go into detailed specific things. So now it's much easier, but it's still there's a process. For somebody who knows Blender well and knows how to 3D, I don't think it's a big problem. But for new artists, it's still a challenge.
Yeah, I checked Blender out myself. I have experience in 3D modeling, but I just found Blender to be, very, there's quite a big learning curve, even for someone who does know how to 3D model. And I really feel like you need to have a very strong background in creativity, in just being able to generate ideas and then translating that into the final product. What what's the future for you as a creator within Upland? If you just came into this game saying, "Hey, this is a fun game, great community, I really like people," and now you won a number of competitions, master builders, you've got some of your models in this first newly designed neighborhood by you. What's the future for Detech in Upland?
I actually have no idea. There's just so much. Like I have a ornament factory, map assets, carts, and no time because I keep taking up these competitions. So I'm thinking I might slow down with competitions because they're actually much less rewarding than creating your items and selling, and also want other people to like, if there's another neighborhood challenge, I'd probably skip it so other people can get in, and I don't. And yeah, like I want to make some fences or some map assets for the new neighborhood maybe. I have partners who I have to make items for, other other I want to make some ornaments, so we'll see. It all depends where Upland goes. I like to do new things, so if they open up blueprints, I'm gonna jump in and convert all my buildings that lost in master builders into blueprints. So we'll see.
And as an entrepreneur in this space, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's looking to create their own meta venture? Maybe not specifically
Hmm.
a factory or from creating 3D models, but what advice would you give to someone who might be an accidental entrepreneur? They came into Upland, kind of like myself and you. Hey, this is a fun game, interesting way to make some money, and now all of a sudden,
Hmm.
we're right in the thick of things, and people are asking us for things and trying to build your own business and create your own brand within this space. What kind of advice would you give to that type of player?
So my biggest advice, and I think the biggest thing that I like about Upland is the community. I think this is why, as a metaverse, Upland survived the hard times when all the other, metaverses kind of most collapsed, and just not to be afraid to find the community and ask questions, and people will guide you. Like there's a lot of people coming in, they're looking for 3D artists. There are 3D artists in the community who can make models depending on what you want. There's different people. There's people who you could find to collaborate with. There's just like it's one of the things that's missing in most other things in life that Upland has.
Yeah, I would add to that there's just so many opportunities, like you said.
Hmm.
Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's the same for Upland. We see constantly every month there's something new that's being added. It might not specifically be a new feature that maybe benefits you as a UGC creator, but all the time there's new things coming in, and it all comes around the need for UGC items, whether it be creating new structures for new neighborhoods or map assets for new games that are coming in and being able to token gate with everything. So it all fits into this big picture, but there's lots of opportunities, and you really have to look in this vast uh, space where there are just so many different types of players and different communities now. It might seem a little bit overwhelming, but like you said, everyone's very helpful, and we all want to see this game grow and succeed. And if you have an idea, there's definitely someone in the Upland space who probably has a similar idea and similar goals and want to work together or find a way to accomplish what you guys are looking for. So that's uh, that's some really good advice there. Where can people find you? What kind of services do you offer?
Uh, I'm on X and on Discord. I haven't done models for hire yet, like for people, but on my Discord, it's always alive. There's a huge gallery for all sorts of different artists and just man adventures. So they advertise. We have auctions, we have raffles all the time. I don't know. Somehow my Discord grew into that. So I've been doing raffles since the start, and now I go to Upland Discord and then I go to mine every day, like full time.
Well, that's
It's
great.
really fun.
The links for those are here in the bottom. So
Mhm.
everyone definitely check out Detech's work. It's really great. Um, any other final words that you want to let people know about what you're involved in, what you're excited about?
Oh, this project was my most exciting part of Upland. Like I never thought I'd get into that because when they announced the neighborhood, I was just like, ooh, and I just stopped everything and concentrated on those models to win the contest because it was just like something I really wanted from the start. And I just wanted some of my buildings to come in, like the master builders, but this was like completely different. So I was super excited. Now I'm kind of rethinking what I want to do. So I'm at the stage where I just finished and I want to kind of look around and
What's the next project?
see what's going on. Yeah.
Now, I also had an opportunity to meet you at the last Genesis Week. Can you talk a little bit about that experience of being
Mhm.
in Genesis Week and meeting the community? I'm assuming for the first time.
It was one of those, like I explained to my wife, one of those events that you've probably never experienced again in your lifetime. Because I knew a lot of the people and I communicated with them for years, but it's the first time you've seen them in real life, right? and you know them by nicknames. Here it's very
You know them
different,
by their
and
block
you don't know
explorers,
most of
or yeah,
and it's like 2-3 days and like over 100 people, which you they're like, "Hi, I'm this," and you're like, "Oh," and they try to remember everybody, and it's overwhelming and it's really exciting.
yeah. And you,
It's
as someone who's very active in the community and creating a lot of items, people are familiar with you and familiar with your work. So, you know that.
a lot of stuff people didn't know it was me. They're like, "Oh, that's you too," from like a year ago, and so it was exciting. My biggest thing is finding out first of all how big Upland is. I've never realized there was a such a huge company, and I never realized how many people who are like just adult professional adults involved in this for various reasons, which was like I don't know, it was just different,
I
not
mean,
what I
that goes back
imagined.
to, I think, the first one of the first questions that I asked you in the rapid fire, where it's really a game for everybody. It's Upland,
Hmm.
play, earn, and connect. So,
Yep.
you come in for one reason, and then you might find yourself winning some competitions and creating lots of houses and learning Blender. Or
Yeah.
for myself, I'm not a professional YouTuber, but I find myself here creating a website. I had never made a website before, and starting to create content and creating YouTube videos. And, it's a really interesting opportunity for people who
Hmm.
are creators at heart, or entrepreneurs. And this is a new space. The whole metaverse is a new space, not
Hmm.
just Upland. But there are tons of opportunities to get involved and start building some sort of a business, whether it's 100% in Upland or around Upland.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm jealous that of people who are programmers because they have an open field of creating. They create all sorts of tools that everybody needs, and it's just like a different level of creativity there.
Well, I think we'll end on this note in that I think
Yeah.
people would say the same thing about you. There were probably lots of people thinking of, hey, I've got great ideas of how to make these awesome houses, but they just don't know how to use Blender and they don't have the tools. So I think it goes every way. Like, those types of creators are needed, people who know how to code and create tools or create games, but also
Hmm.
the metaverse does turn around UGC content. And that's also, I think, people are really going to need services like what you are able to do, or they're going to learn it on their own. So it's a two-way street. All of these different
Yep.
types of people are needed in Upland.
Yep. Totally.
Great. Well, this was a great conversation. It
Totally.
was great to hear about how you got involved and all of the cool things that you are creating. And for everyone who's wanting to learn more about Detech, links are in the description below. Thank you very much.
Thank you.